Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Finance Story, and I'm your host, Vishal Krishna. So, to introduce Arun further, he's a chartered accountant from the 2013 batch, but most interestingly, he is also an engineer from the Guindy College of Engineering in 2010. It'll be very interesting to know that change that he's made in the career. It's fascinating that somebody did engineering and finance. It fascinates me. We'll get to know about that. He is also an MBA from the Ivy Business School at Western University. In the past, he's worked with Citibank and Deloitte. Let's find out his story on the Finance Story right now. How are you, Arun?
Doing great, Vishal. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me here.
No, I'm looking forward to this. While Chantal's been telling you, and I'm excited simply because in a lifetime, people don't do engineering and do finance at the same time. They'll go do MBA finance for sure, but not chartered accounting. So we'll get to that in a bit. But I want to know your childhood. How did it begin? You've got several qualifications, in a sense.
Sure.
How did that childhood of yours go? I mean, you seem to be studying all the time and doing very well in it.
Yeah, that's true, Vishal. I mean, although my parents will not, or my mother may not like the fact that I keep on studying, but I enjoy studying. So I grew up in Chennai mostly. I did my schooling there, and then I did my engineering, as you rightly pointed out, College of Engineering, Guindy. I qualified as a mechanical engineer, and later I immediately pursued chartered accountancy in Chennai. I did my articleship also in Chennai. I later worked after qualifying as a chartered accountant in Citibank, which is one of the leading banks in the world. I had a good stint in Citibank for close to 5 years, worked in different places like in Chennai, Bangalore, Mumbai. Later, as you mentioned, I decided to go to Canada to pursue my MBA to Canada. And then I joined with Deloitte, for a brief while as a strategy consultant, again focusing on the financial services space. And then I joined with BlockZero. I think you gave a wonderful introduction of what BlockZero is. So currently I'm a manager with BlockZero as a management consultant. It's a management consulting firm based in Montreal in Canada. And currently I'm working remotely from Bangalore.
I mean, it's good to know that all of us have been able to work remote, all safe. And I think the last 2 years have been very tough for all of us, but the world is coming back. And that's what I want to capture, the inspirational journey. How did you manage your CA and become an engineer, or is vice versa? I mean, how did you manage your engineering and study CA? How did that happen?
So I didn't do it at the same time. So I'll tell you, it's a kind of pretty unique story, and you might find it surprising what I'm going to say. So ever since my 7th grade, I always wanted to be a doctor. And I started studying really, really hard for my MBBS, for an MBBS seat. I got a rank of 729 in Tamil Nadu State Board, and I was pretty confident that I'll get a medical seat. So I went for medical counseling. So medical counseling means is you go to a place where you get you're awarded the medical seat, and all the people going in front of me were getting a medical seat and coming out. So the 728 people who went in front of me, they all got a medical seat, and I was invited to go inside. And when I went inside, they said the seats are over. So I was completely shattered. So I lost a medical seat. Yeah, I mean, it completely hurt me, Vishal. It was by one rank. If I had just studied for that extra 2-3 hours, maybe I would have got that medical seat. But it was a life-changing moment at that point. And my fallback option was to do engineering. And that's how I ended up actually.
What did you study in engineering? Automotive or
mechanical engineering?
Mechanical. Oh my!
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, seriously, it must have been a very hard decision, a heartbreaking decision.
It was a heartbreaking decision, and very soon after I joined engineering, I realized that this was not my cup of tea, and I need to kind of change course. So I was looking at other options. One of my my role models is my dad, who is he is currently a very, very, very well established chartered accountant in Bahrain. He has a practice there, and he has an audit firm and a consulting firm. At that point of time, he didn't have a practice, but he was pretty much in Gulf. But what he did have was a passion for this area, and he was very interested in accounts and finance, and he used to have very passionate, when he used to talk about me, he used to really uplift me and say that, okay, this is really a wonderful space to work in and stuff like that. I think I got that infection from him, that infectious spirit to really like this part of the world. I got it from him. I also come from a family of chartered accountants, but most of my relatives told me, don't take a CA, because there are people who get white hair and still are not able to pass the CA program. More so, you are engineer. So I think both those factors combined like motivated me to kind of say. So it was like my dad's infectious energy and like the passion for the subject kind of stuck onto me. And the second thing was like it was a big challenge, like to clear the CA program. And I wanted
absolutely
to
everybody does BCom and does it, or you know how it works, right? They do a course in management and commerce to do those exams. You took engineering and did it. Was it easy for you?
It was pretty tough to start with. Like one of my first teachers was my dad, so he taught me double entry system, the golden rules of accounting and stuff like that. So my CPT exam was pretty much taken care of. Intermediate and CA, the final exam was a huge challenge. And if I were to mention like one other person who apart from my family, because you need immense family support to clear such a course, because you study 10 to 14 hours a day and it's not easy to clear. So apart from that, late CA Srinivasan was my professor. He had unwavering confidence in me, and he really motivated me to, I mean, he used to get up at 4 a.m. in the morning, and he never took any fees from me. He just gave me free lessons, and he used to give me tests, and I was indebted to him. I was really saying that, okay, this guy has so much trust in me, I need to clear the exam. In fact, I got a rank in All India rank in both my levels of my exam, and I would dedicate both my ranks to CA Professor Srinivasan and also to my family.
It's interesting, right? You mentioned this. I'm glad you had that support. But you finished engineering, all your friends went to work, and then you had to study again, which basically means 3 years of hard work. That means you're with the younger lot who finished 12th standard, or the 12th grade as they call it in the USA, right? You must be really feeling out of place.
Yeah, I mean, it was a difficult decision to take, like to kind of go, because like most of my peers were working and they were earning good salaries. And the second thing is like also this emotional battle where you are like 4 years older than your peers in the articleship office, and you need to report to them because like they lead the team. So, but I think it grounded me as a person as well, like in terms of looking at the work objective, and like client work matters more than actually these small things. And what you said is true. I mean, I don't know how I had that maturity at that age, Vishal, because like in what I thought at that age is like, in the long term I need to be happy, and in the long term it needs to make sense. Because if I had looked at the short term benefits at that point of time, I would not have taken the CA route. I would have just taken up a job I got, and maybe I would have been
probably working in Guindy itself in some SMB. maybe. Yeah. It would have been tough for you. You'd probably be making some auto parts or something for somebody. Right? That would have been so tough. But I'm glad things turned out so well for you. In a sense, I want to now go to your journey. You straight away went off to one of the biggest companies, Citibank, right? How was it like working there, and how was your CA journey? What was the experience? And you also have to tell me, have you ever worked in a Big Four kind of a company? And also, did you get overwhelmed with accounting and tax and all these terms that some of us business people use?
Yeah, so to start off, let me start with my articleship. So I think that's a major question every CA student has. Should we join Big Four? It's the same question even I was thinking about when I was making that decision. So I heard stories of Big Four article students working like 10 to 14 hours a day. And then I thought, okay, I need to work so long, and then I need to study, and then I need to attend classes. I thought, okay, this I can't do. I mean, this is not up to me. I can't work so hard. So I joined a mid-sized firm, but I also have friends who are Big Four articles and they pass CA. I also have friends who are Big Four articles and passed CA and got a rank. So I mean, I can look up to them only as superheroes for I think achieving these feats, because it is pretty tough. Yeah, what you said is rightly. The accounting and tax was intimidating and overwhelming when it started off. But after a point of time, I realized that it's pure logic. Like a lot of these CA concepts is pure logic, and I loved it. Like it's a never-ending learning process. Like even recently, we are having a debate around US GAAP 606, accounting standard for revenue recognition, and it's like a more of a philosophical topic, because there are many gray areas still in accounts which we need to discuss, debate, and argue and come to a conclusion. Similar is tax. Now tax, I'm really curious I'm really working on digital asset taxation in India, and I'm very soon looking to have maybe partners working here who can provide advice on digital asset taxation. Because I mean, you must have heard, like in the recent budget, there is taxation announced for digital assets. So I'm really looking for people to collaborate with in this.
I think it's a 30% tax announced, yeah.
Yes, there is a 30% tax, a few exemptions. There is TDS. TDS is the most complicated part, where they have announced 1%. And there is a tag, there is no set-off of losses, which is why traders are really hit. So you can't set one transaction. If you make a profit, that transaction you need to pay tax. If you make another transaction loss, you cannot set it off as you do in normal trade. And even gift is taxable. There are certain exemption limits, but gift of digital assets is also taxable. Movement from one wallet to another is taxable. So there is a lot of complexities which have come in.
It's funny how you look at you talking about the subject from an engineer to this. Right? The transition must have been beautiful for you. Again, like you had mentors in the form of the person that you mentioned, Mr. Srinivasan, right, would wake up at 4 in the morning and help you.
Yeah.
You have that at work as well. Did somebody help you transition well into these accounting terms, tax terms? Were you guided by anybody at work? Or you're normally the kind of person who just says, I'm going to put my mind at it and I'm going to achieve what I want?
Yeah, I think like the CA program is structured in a way where even the articles, right, you have levels where you have to go through, and it is pretty logical in terms of the work we do. It's not very, very complicated. You just need to know the basics. And I think I had a very good set of colleagues always with me. In work, they were very supportive, and they used to provide me the support I needed in articles. In Citibank, it never felt like work. Like, I mean, every day was fun. Like the time I had, so I was reporting to a chartered accountant, and she was also, our super boss was also a chartered accountant. There were like discussions on the budget and other stuff we used to have, and we had like a lot of support. So my dad was a big support as well. Any big doubts I used to clarify it, and I had a good set of friends as well, whom I used to ask doubts and clarify them with. So I had a good time. And just to mention Citi, like Citi period was fantastic, Vishal. Like the time I spent there, that 5 years, I think whenever I talk to my Citibank colleagues, they say that they will never ever get that back again in their life, because it was so much fun working there. I don't know whether it's the case with every Citibanker, but most of the Citibankers I talk to, they say the same thing. Like the Citibank time they had is one of the best periods of their life. Unfortunately, now the retail division is closing down in India.
Yeah.
So which is really sad to hear.
In fact, I mean, to support what you claim, and it's true. I used to write about Citibank's retail lending outfit in 2005 and 6 when I was at a magazine in Bombay.
Oh,
it's funny. And I used to go to BKC and meet all the interesting people there, all the senior members of the bank. It was very interesting. We'll talk about that further, but I want to know about your transition to MBA. You didn't keep quiet. You were in Deloitte, but you went on and finished your MBA, and then you joined BlockZero. That's an interesting transition. I mean, you're a man who in 10 years or less than 10 years has achieved quite a bit and very interesting moves in life. So I want to know why MBA, and again, why BlockZero? And this is where it piques my interest, because BlockZero is an interesting consulting firm and it's doing some interesting work in digital assets. So I wanted to move there.
Sure. So I never had plans for an MBA. My plan for an MBA came because one of my Citibank colleagues, he was in Canada and he was working for a leading bank. Currently, he's a director of the strategy team there. And he told me Canada is really a nice place for the banking sector and a lot of opportunities exist. You must come here. So, and I asked him, okay, how do I get there? He said that the best route is to get an MBA program here. So my sole purpose of doing an MBA was to get into Canada and settle down there. That's why I did the MBA program. So and he told me that the best MBA college in Canada is the Ivy Business School. So it fit into my requirement perfectly. It was a 1-year program, and it was like immediately after that you get. I mean, mostly Ivy graduates, they get a job. So I applied. I got the MBA. I got the seat, and I went.
And you applied for BlockZero in particular? How did that happen?
No. So I didn't apply for BlockZero. So I had zero expectations of the program, and I went there. But that program was fantastic, Vishal. Like, it was so good because it was a case-based environment, and the cohort was fantastic. They came from different backgrounds, and by a case-based method of learning, it means that you are asked to give your opinion on different problems that they solve in the class, and you need to think on your feet. So even though I had zero expectations, I really endorsed the program now. I think it's really required because it elevated me to another level to think of a more strategic, from a more strategic lens as to what businesses need and what executives need to make decisions. So as I said, zero expectations, but I think I took a lot from the program. So after the program, at the middle of the program, we do campus placements. And that's when I got introduced to Deloitte. So they called me for one of the drink and some sessions they had, and networking sessions. So I met with some of the people there, and some of them are mutual friends of mine. So I ended up having a good conversation. They liked my profile because I come from Citibank, World Bank, done a number of projects in the payment space, and they had a huge team for financial services. So immediately after Deloitte, I got an offer with Deloitte as a strategy consultant in the financial services space, and I was focused on payments modernization. So Canada is 10 years behind India in terms of payments. Sorry if any Canadian hears this, but this is the truth.
Yeah, I think India has done very well in the UPI space, right?
Fantastic.
Unified payment
interface. It's a case study.
Correct.
It is a case study, and it's the way they are doing it. I'm very confident that their CBDC, which Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman has said that they're going to launch in 2023, will be one of the world's best. So if you look at the EY's Global FinTech Index, India ranks number 2 in the world in terms of fintech adoption. Number 1 is China, but China and India hold the same score. So India is actually very, 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 very supreme in terms of its payments infrastructure. So actually, when I went to Canada, I thought, okay, I'm going to learn more in Canada in terms of the payments piece. But actually, they were just modernizing. Like, I mean, NEFT and RTGS.
It's an opportunity.
They're just kind of building it now. So I was in the payments modernization team, helping them. And then at the 1-year mark, I got introduced to Laurent. And he was in the crypto space. Like, I mean, not crypto space. He was he was the ex-director of Deloitte, and he led the blockchain practice. He was the CBDC chair, and he was also the lead of the blockchain practice in KPMG before he joined Deloitte. And he left Deloitte to start BlockZero. I had a chat with him, and his interest or passion in the subject is also very infectious. So I got that kind of interest from him, and he recommended some of the papers to read, and he also kind of gave me a book to read. So he recommended a book to read, and I started working pro bono for him for quite some time, and on CBDCs, and I really liked it. So the moment he got his first big client, I jumped ship, and there is no turning back. So for 2 years almost now, we have worked on like a couple of interesting projects. And it's a space which is pretty much evolving. There's a lot of changes taking place every day, and it's pretty exciting to work in this space now.
Isn't it very interesting that in your case, right, the transitions from engineering to chartered accounting to hardcore, taxation, accounting, then, doing an MBA and then getting into strategic consulting, and finally come back to the sweet spot of digital assets of the future, must be very interesting, because for me, I think the world tomorrow is about decentralized finance. It is about centralized finance, cryptocurrencies, and all of this requires, the whole world needs people to help them understand the subject, in a very legal manner. Let me say, there's a lot of attack on this kind of system, right? They think, some people say blockchain is the future. I agree that blockchain is the future, but everything else in terms of the financial system, the cryptos or crypto itself, I think people look at it negatively, and that's why I think BlockZero comes in, right?
So yeah, I mean, you put it perfectly. There is some sort of a negative connotation to the crypto space, and that's why we use the word digital assets. We don't want to call it crypto assets, because I don't know why it has a negative connotation, because if you really look at crypto, it means cryptography. It's just kind of a security language protocol, you kind of protect or have security over that particular currency. But BlockZero is not an educational platform. We are a consulting platform where we help companies transition into the space. So for example, some of our clients want to build a Bitcoin mining farm. So we help them set it up. So I come from a financial background, so I'm able to build the financial model, build the pitch deck, and kind of advise them strategically as to how their vision should look, and also what is their target operating model. We build the entire blueprint. Also, we are advising one of the leading central bank digital currency software providers. So they have a number of questions, on pricing, on their target operating model, on how they need to deploy a central bank digital currency, on market intelligence, on what is actually taking place in the world. Then we have requirements for new companies, for example, actually, if you look at it, people look at cryptocurrencies now only as a crypto exchange, but there is a whole host of infrastructure which needs to be set up, or whole host of ecosystem which needs to be enabled. So you need a crypto exchange, you need crypto custodians, you need insurance companies, you need banks to support them. You need technology players, you need AML KYC providers. Then you also need to educate the regulators on how this space works. You need to set up the regulations. So there is a lot of work which needs to be done. And I think we play a role in enabling all of these ecosystem players to kind of set up their infrastructure, to set up this ecosystem.
I agree with you completely. So everybody from private equity to even in many utilities, even the electric or water supply companies are trying to look at crypto in a very big way, and mostly it's around treasury, and also some of them want to launch their own tokenized concepts, right? I think that's another different panel that we have to actually be part of. It's very interesting and very deep, right?
Very true. Utility, you put it rightly. Canada was one of the first countries in the world to launch an exchange traded fund on cryptocurrencies. They have a mutual fund which is based where the underlying asset is cryptocurrency. So you can, traditional investors can buy through their bank account. They can take a position on cryptocurrencies through a mutual fund, which is a major step. Once US launches that, I'm very sure I want to see how the Bitcoin price changes, because they take very long positions. Institutional investors take very long positions, and they don't sell the cryptocurrencies very easily. So as you mentioned about utilities company entering this space, very truly, in terms of investments, we already talk about it, big firms are entering into this space in terms of investing. But also ExxonMobil, I don't know if you heard recently. They are launching, they want to start Bitcoin mining. The reason why is because all these oil fields, what happens, Vishal, is that they produce oil, but the byproduct is something called natural gas. And most of the oil companies, what they do is, because it's not pollute the atmosphere, they burn the natural gas. So it goes completely waste. Now what they're thinking is, why should we waste this byproduct? Why can't we convert this into Bitcoin? Because anyway going waste. ExxonMobil has started it. So many companies in Alberta do it. Many companies in Texas do it. Many companies in America in fact do this, where they convert energy which is wasted into Bitcoin. You mentioned about water. I can say about solar and hydro, because the problem with hydro and solar is that the source of energy is in a distant part of the region, and the grid is in another region. So to connect the two source, the source with the kind of place where it's going to be consumed is difficult because of the infrastructure. You need to lay the infrastructure. But with a Bitcoin mining farm, you can take these containers and just attach it wherever the source is. So that is where the benefit lies. You're using these sources and then you provide them with money to later connect to a grid. So it's actually, people talk about Bitcoin as like non-sustainable or unsustainable, but it is actually enabling sustainable energy in many senses. It's only a different way or a different perspective. I think you need to be looking at.
Absolutely, I agree with you. I think if you look at it, ExxonMobil, I think, is working with Crusoe Energy Systems, I think, to use unused natural gas to power crypto. I think that's what they're doing. And there's also ConocoPhillips, I think. Okay. I think there's also ConocoPhillips. You were absolutely right. But it'd be interesting to do another conversation on this. It's so fascinating that these kind of models, new business models, have emerged. And I think that's where BlockZero can help many companies. And I'm glad you have a new calling for the next 10 years, right? This is going to be the future with nations changing, with corporates, nations, individuals, all of them seem to be on it. Interesting. So, I think we should do another conversation. It's longer. And like you said, we could go on. And I have millions of questions. And I definitely want to have you back on another program, just talking this one subject on what is the value of crypto and how do you think about its growth and degrowth. But I have one more question. Now, you talk about so much technicality now and you talk about it with such ease. Did your engineering degree now help you? Did your engineering degree help you?
Ultimately, I think it paid off. At a moment, I thought like in engineering, should I just drop out and like do my engineering? I think my mother was the main force. You need to at least be a graduate. I don't mind you doing anything else. Just be a graduate, undergraduate. So, now I think it helps, Vishal. Like, for example, especially understanding terms on Bitcoin mining farms would have been much more complex. So I'll tell you what helped me a lot. So engineers are good at problem solving and analytical skills and understanding any kind of mechanical or like software product really well. And where CAs really stand out is understanding holistically on business and also about risk. Very good at evaluating risk, interpreting law, taxation, accounts, finance. So a whole host of kind of skill sets you learn there. I think those two combined, I hope I'm using it now, and everyone has their own reasons like why they end up doing like an engineering or an MBA afterwards. So I think it just worked out for me, and I may be using both of these skills now in work.
I think it speaks volumes about the person you are, because you're always open to learning, and that's the brilliant aspect, that you didn't drop out, that you finished the subject, went after what you like, and then you're moving on to MBA and you're doing this digital asset consulting. No, it's all the best to you. But last question, what is the message to other engineers who are now in the middle of their, say, in the 5th sem or 6th sem and thinking, hey, what am I doing? Can I move to finance? Should they go after chartered accounting or should they do an MBA finance? What would you advise?
So if it were for me, I honestly, I thought CA was the best thing because it teaches you a lot, and I had my dad who was the main motivating force. And I think at that point I was unaware of MBA finance. Maybe if I had knew about MBA finance, I would have taken that route. But that said, if you are in that space of 6th sem or 7th sem and you're like thinking about finance, I think it's a great place to look at. But it's a path you're changing. So it's a complete. I saw one of your questions is, should you freak out if you make this decision to go from engineering to finance? I think you should freak out because you're changing your complete path from an engineer into finance. But I think you need to be, it's not a right or wrong answer. And you need to be more mindful of the decisions you're taking at that point of time, why you're taking that decision, what is that is motivating you, and why you want to end up having a career in finance, and is this something you want to do in the long run? I think if you answer those questions, it might help. And one thing I'd like to say is that you should not take life too seriously. I think people take life too seriously. You need to enjoy the moments that you have and enjoy the decisions you're taking. Sorry, I'm going off topic, but my family is really freaking out now because I have decided to learn Hindustani classical music at this age, and I have zero background in music.
And if you watch this will be an amazing interview with the finance story, simply because, you cannot limit yourself to one thing all your life. You can do multiple things and be happy.
Exactly.
And that's the story of Arun Pazhayannur. Arun, thank you so much, and all the best with BlockZero for you. And we'll visit you in Canada sometime. And thank you very much. And I'll see you around the corner. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you, Vishal. It's been a pleasure. And thank you, Ms. Chantal, for this opportunity. Thank you so much.